So looking at green finance, what are the kind of green finance investments that will be more suitable for Nigeria?
Um, Let me take it this way. Green finance definitely has to do with things related to climate change effects, reduction of the effects of climate change. So you talk about things like making sure we have low carbon emission. You could use all these big grammar most of the time, but it's basic things like, for instance, the cars you drive, um, the what comes out of your exhaust, the emissions that come out, how do you reduce it? The fridges, the ACs you use in your house, how do you use the ones that, how do you discard the ones that give out a lot of carbon and start using the ones that don't, which involves a lot of technology. Now, to do this kind of things, for instance, if I am already using something that emits a lot of carbon, and you come and tell me to stop using it, and I don't have the money to replace that car or replace that AC or replace something there, what do you think I will do? I would not be able to do that. So green finance is what now enables me to have the resources. So it's like a bond or funds provided by an organization to help me stop emitting carbon. So for instance, if you have gas flaring in Nigeria and you want us to stop flaring gas, and we don't have the funds to stop doing that, you provide us with some funds to enable us to stop flaring gas. So that's what the whole thing is about. But taking it to another level now, where the world has gone to, is the mixture of green financing with sustainable financing. Now, green financing only focuses on that climate change aspect, what affects the climate, and tries to, do things that will make you stop doing whatever is affecting the climate and the environment. But when you now add sustainable financing to it, which is what we are talking about here when we say sustainable investment, is that you now take into cognizance other factors. Take, for instance, livelihoods, economic factors, and other things that could connect to it. For instance, green finances can give you money to say, okay, use this money to replace this car, so you don't use this type of car. Use this money to replace this air conditioner, so you don't use that. But you can say, okay, yes, this money, plant more trees. Now, if you have to plant more trees, you need land to plant those trees. Someone might be farming on that land, and that land might be the person's source of livelihood. Now, green financing will provide the money to plant trees, but will not provide the alternative for that person who is currently using that land to farm and survive. So, but the sustainable part of it is the part that takes care of that aspect. So it's a combination of both, that a country like Nigeria, where we have a lot of people, struggling to survive, needs not just the direct green financing that finances those green projects. And we could talk about that as the show goes on. But the real thing that works for us is where you take into cognizance what happens in the land, the economic issues that happen, the livelihoods of the people, as well as that thing you're trying to, the low carbon emission that you're trying to reduce. And then you also look at the sustainable use of these resources. How can you use these resources sustainably to affect economic growth? So that combination of the green financing and sustainable financing is what gives you that, and that is what Nigeria needs right now.
All right. The federal government issued the first green bonds in Nigeria. That was in 2017, about 10.6 billion naira worth of that. Now, talk to us if this has justified the intended purpose, this investment over the years. That's not just the only investment, but that's just the first, which happened in 2017. And you can agree with me that over the years, investment have been made in billions. But the question is, has this investment justified the purpose intended?
No, it has not. The truth is, let's first of all applaud the administration that did that. That was the best of any African country. You see, a lot of times we look about negative things about Nigeria and we don't look at the other positive things that happen in the country. Now, that was the first of any African country. Not just that, that was the most ambitious, even worldwide, for you to start such a project and release that 10 point something billion. And I think in 2019, another, how much is it? About 15 billion was released in 2019. Now, we have not gotten any feedback from the government to show us the effects of this thing. And from the small knowledge I have, I've not gone to really find out. I know an organization released a report once, Premium Times released one investigative report once, but I don't know what follow-up has been done about it. But one thing I got from it was that the focus of that bond was mainly on planting trees. Maybe that was the first phase. I don't know what else, they need to do. Who that was given to, the bond was given to, I don't know. And it's supposed to be something like a debt relief kind of thing, So it was focused on planting trees. The execution was poor. There were some squabbles in some villages, just like what I talked about, where land was taken away from some people to plant trees. And the owners came and revolted, and that ended that project. They stopped the project because the process was not properly done. Like I said, if you're taking this land to plant trees and the people are dependent on the land, what else are you doing? So we have always said that the problem we have here is execution. And that has been the problem. There's no monitoring and evaluation, no tracking the process. Or we just come, we announce that, oh, this has been given. And the media takes it that, oh, government plans to do this, government does this. But after it's done, who follows up? Nobody does that. And that is the challenge we have. Now, some of the things you require to make this thing work is you have to look at what kind of resources do you have? What labor do you have? Which Nigeria has. We have the land resources, we have alternative resources, energy, and other things we could do. We have the labor, we have the people. Capital to do the project. Now, if Nigeria could release that amount, which worldwide was regarded as one of the most ambitious worldwide, to start with that kind of huge amount for that, that means we have the ability to source the capital. Then entrepreneurship. We all know Nigerians are one of the most enterprising people worldwide. We succeed anywhere. So if you properly plan this project and you're able to give people funds to do things, they will do it and make good use of it in Nigeria. We've been doing that. Power generation for most businesses are self-done, they don't depend on government for it. They buy their gens. So that's the basic of being and then the last part is the technology part, which is something that we lack. And it's not that we lack the technology, because like we had in one of the past programs, if you go to the best technology firms worldwide in any sector, you find Nigerians there. It's on record that a Nigerian, was behind the fastest computer in the world, for goodness sake. A Nigerian is making billions from, what's it called? What you use now, this latest technology in cyber security and all that in the US is a Nigerian. A Nigerian has done technology for real estate management, which is one of the best in the world. They are all outside this country. They are everywhere. Locally, we now have so many technology hubs in Nigeria right now. We're even using such things to do a lot of things in the world. And currently, when you talk about the use of online technology, Nigeria is about the fastest growing in the world. So we have young people who have this ability to do this. But is there any direct way to fund people to do these things? In my house, my inverter got blown, and a young guy built a fresh panel from scratch for me. That's the technology we are talking about to be able, because without that inverter, you can't use any renewable energy. But will somebody give this young guy financing to set up stuff? We have government institutions currently in the country, but are they properly financed to do some of all these things? So that is where the issue is. And then we must also look at the things that affect, when these factors are put in place now by government, there are also some things that would affect it from working. And I'll give you one basic one. And that basic one, and that is part of the reasons why we don't have constant electricity in Nigeria, which we don't acknowledge, is our huge population. And it's not just a huge population, it's the growth. Now, when your population grows at a certain level, your GDP and all that also needs to grow. There needs to be deliberate moves. So if you know, we already know how many births take place every year in Nigeria. Is there a plan on how we will take care of these bets that are coming up? And for instance, if everybody is logging into the national grid that is still very small, it will collapse every day, just collapsed again. Then we look at inflation, which is part of the reason why prices of everything has skyrocketed. You mentioned that solar investment now it's very costly for the average Nigerian to deal with. What is the problem? It's inflation. Then we talk about foreign direct investment, which the current government now is trying to lure people to come in. We've had past governments who have done that. Even the Obasanjo regime was able to bring in a lot of foreign investment. The Goodluck regime did it. During the last Buhari regime, it slowed down drastically. But now this current regime has gone out. We've already seen some signs from Dubai, from India, from a couple of other places coming. In the US now, they are doing the same thing. And we hope that when this comes in, it will be able to help. But locally, there are some local things that can also affect it. Now, if you have low public-private partnerships from even the local scene, this thing would also not work.
All right, you've talked about financing being a challenge for a lot of people who would want to go into green investments or developing green products. What is the possibility of Nigerian banks developing green loan products that are accessible and affordable for businesses and individuals?
Currently, I think someone asked me a question once and asked me, do you know some green banks in Nigeria? And honestly, only one bank popped up. Only one bank, despite the major banks we have, that has anything that has to do with green financing. And I don't know I've not done research to find out to what extent that has taken place. I was in a Zoom event once with someone in the UK trying to initiate local green financing. You have this, for instance, now, even in the estate development scene in Nigeria, you have financing, you have mortgages, you have other kinds of instruments that can help you get houses. Even so, though some are exploitative, but you have those kind of processes. Now, today, if I want a solar stop, how will I get it? Now, some organizations tried it, I think about 2 years ago.
Oh, we seem to have lost connection with Aro there. He was talking about green financing in Nigeria. Like he
Yes.
said, you know, how many banks,
How many green
green
banks?
banks do we have in Nigeria? I think what we have here is more of, you know, the universal system of banking, where the commercial banks, you know, take up this responsibility when they are being compelled to do that. And the challenge is not even, you know, the availability of these funds, is the fact that how accessible, you know, these funds for an average investor who want to have access this one, just like an average loan in Nigeria. If you need to access a loan in Nigeria, you're being asked this and that to provide these in terms of documentation. By the time you look at the bottleneck, you are discouraged. And you look at the fact that you need this money to actually do a particular kind of business at a particular time. But by the time you look at the duration and the requirement needed for you to be able to meet up this loan, you either go either way. Same thing is playing out when it comes to, you know, green bonding or financing. It's a familiar terrain, but it's something we have to look at critically. Alan Taro is back with us. I'm glad to have you join us once again.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about the green banks. We know that
And
we are
it's
not
part
having
it's
enough
part
of
the
green
financing
banks.
we are talking about.
Yes. You can go ahead with your thoughts. You can go ahead with your thoughts. You can go ahead.
Yes. Okay. There's also what is called green central banking. And you see, so if we don't have our private owned banks coming up with green bonds, because before any private, this is a national thing, it's a government-led thing. It is not a private-led. Private can come in when the government support, like you were talking about those bottlenecks and all that. And only one bank, and I don't know why that bank did that. Maybe that's the bank the government worked with to release that bond, who knows. But there's what's called green central banking. Now, and I've not heard that in Nigeria. I don't know much about fiscal policy, what it really is. That's not my field. But I know that there are things around fiscal policy that makes these processes to be easy. And these other commercial banks, well, they want to make money. They want to know how they'll get their money back. Can come in. Now, so if Nigeria can get up and implement this green central banking, where they are able to provide funds and resources that these other private banks can now, you know, tap into or do some waivers for them, you know, whatever kind of policy that makes investing in these things work. Like the guy in the US, they got frustrated because probably finances they were expecting to help to give out these loans to individuals to set up solar stuff does not work. Then there's another one that we also do not talk about in Nigeria. And I don't know, maybe it's the Western culture that's infiltrated us so much that we now live in silos. See, go online, there is what is called community green financing. And we had MAMSA in those days, you know, talking about social mobilization, mobilizing people. We've been able to do things over the years. Women, done by Miriam Babangida Center, where you have, and we have what we call even this local ajo that we do to do projects. In most of your associations, you have that. Now, but we've not seen, these are things that are our local ways of generating funds to do things. But we've not, we keep looking at what the foreign countries do, but we don't look at what works for us locally. For instance, so if government comes and enlighten communities that, look, we've had communities build schools. The secondary school I went to, which is one of the most popular schools in Nigeria, then, you know, was built by the community as far back as 1949. And it's a major, huge college. We've had these things in Nigeria. So we could also come up with an enlightenment program that would encourage community green financing, where communities could come together, pool money together, you can call it ajo or whatever, and begin to give people monthly loans to take care of their energy needs. The marketers at Alaba Market, for instance, rather than waiting, we don't wait for government for most of our things, can come together and do community financing to take care of their power needs in Alaba Market. But sometimes, just like we said in the last thing. It is now that the federal government is allowing states to generate power and do all that. So government needs to come up. Some of these organizations might not even know, or communities might not even know, because education is key, might not even know that this is something they could do to solve this kind of problem. So government has to come up with a project, because I don't understand what the National Orientation Agency is really doing. Because it's national orientation, so anything that is expected to make the country good, it's not just you just come once a while and say, oh, maybe during election you come and say, oh, talk about company. Anything that will make us as Nigerians live well, do it. He that knows the good he ought to do it. If you don't do it, it is sin. That is the National Orientation Agency. So you come in, so enlighten people that look, government is able to provide this. Now, because of our population and our demands and our needs, the government structures can meet our needs. Now, you guys can come together and then do this. We will support you by providing XYZ. And with you can bet the billions that will come out to finance projects. So if the power problem and labor market, for instance, is taken care of by traders and government give them tax waivers, what do you think will happen? There will be ripple effect. Prices of goods come down, and so many things will happen. Yeah.
I want you to talk to us, for people to understand what it takes, what is required for you to be able to access these funds, and what can be done to ensure that you unbundle this kind of bottleneck so that there will be easy access to these funds.
Okay, I don't have the details of the requirements for green financing locally. I don't have it, and that is the part of the challenges we have when we talk about education, enlightening the public. Now, for instance, we have the Federal Mortgage Bank. The processes for accessing funds from the Federal Mortgage Bank to build your house is clear, it's there, everybody can see it. Now, for those people who are doing financing in estate management, we have them so many estate companies. They list out all what you need to get that. So if, for instance, only one commercial bank in Nigeria has that stuff, how would we know? And I think what is there currently is the same process for you to get a loan to do any other thing, with interest rates that will be as high as 20-something%. I think it's the same thing. I don't have the details, but I don't think from that singular bank that is currently doing this in Nigeria that there is any waiver. That's why it has to come from the government. The bonds that were released by the federal government, the only thing we have seen that it was used for was working with a company to plant trees. And we shouldn't be thinking in the kind of archaic way we think about only trees. We know that one has to be done. But the real financing that is required now is financing around technology. That is the part. In fact, in the early days when this green financing thing came up, technology was not part of it. That's what I said. It started with just reduce carbon emissions at that level. But now technology has gone way back. So you are now talking about having financing things that could lead to energy efficiency and also enhancing a circular economy. So it's not just about change this, but you change such that you can now use whatever change you're doing to generate a livelihood. Must not disrupt your income base or your economy. So this is something we need to explore, and we are calling on the government with this program to come out clear and make just the same way we set up the Federal Mortgage Bank. We should be able to come up with, even if it's not a direct, because I'm tired of establishing too many different organizations. We have so many of them already, and they are just there wasting money, employing people and burning resources. No, we could use existing commercial banks, direct funding from the central bank, for instance, going through the what's it called, the either Ministry of Power or even the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Okay, so it's not just about coming dashing people money here and there. I'm not interested in those things, but helping people to be able to get funds to take care of their power needs, so that their business, they spend less in business. I'll use the media as an example. Many media organizations find it difficult to pay salaries today to meet their needs. A report just came yesterday that diesel is now approaching 1,000 naira. And they are run on gen. A lot of them. Now, if, for instance, there is a bond for stations to be able to invest in renewable energy so they don't have to spend on diesel, then they could be able to do a lot of other things. Now, a lot of us are hesitant to even do government promotion, things that enhance national, want everything to be paid for because they have to be on air to do it. So that is one way that I think these processes can work. Let there be something that is similar to what is happening with the Federal Mortgage Bank for this kind of green and sustainable investment. And then come up with tax waivers first for major organizations. Now, also remember the last time we talked about major international organizations. If there could be some certain levy for them or cost for them, or even as you are bringing in this foreign direct investment, you put a clause there that part of what they must do as they get these waivers from the government is to invest in renewable energy. And it's there as you're signing those agreements from beginning. Now, take China as an example. China has benefited from Nigeria from all the generators we have been importing over the years. But the same China has one of the largest renewable energy projects in the world. China has concessions that have been given in transportation, in mining, in so many things, a lot of constructions going on. Now, in the agreement with China, this green financing should be a part of it. And not just in terms of while doing the project, but also in supporting local individual Nigerians who also want to go that route. And when you sign that deal with them, Nigeria is a big country. Everybody wants to be connected to Nigeria. Sometimes it's we that don't see ourselves. We don't know the role we play in the world. The world cannot exist today without Nigeria. Take Nigeria out of the world. We missed the last World Cup and FIFA was crying. Why? We know what Nigeria is to the world. So we must be able to come out and put the card, dictate the pace, not beg for anything, but be able to negotiate and show the values we are bringing to the table and get whatever country that wants to work with us to work with us in line with these things that is the need of our people. Power is the biggest problem for the economy in Nigeria. So you cannot sign any deal with anybody that does not address that aspect. We'll be wasting our time.
Okay, apart from power or the energy sector, what other sectors have the greatest chance of attracting green finance in Nigeria?
Well, see, environment, they are talking about the green. See, the environment is economy. All the crops you put out, agriculture and all that requires those kind of financing. You could name it, even the medical sector, pharmaceuticals, till today, a lot of drugs produced in the world, what is gotten to produce these things come from our forests here in Nigeria, but yet we are not able to. We've mentioned the technology aspect of it. The individuals are setting a lot of little technology up. Now, if we get it right, we'll be surprised where it will go through. We talk about the entertainment industry. Now, we say lack of education. People don't even know that, for instance, you could do community, use the same kind of your agile process to do green financing for your community, for the betterment of your life. Now, the entertainment sector could start doing a lot of things to promote. In the past, we've done projects. For instance, we did projects on HIV. We use musicians, we use the movie industry. There's the so-called waiting day. You have the MTV Sugar and things like that. Now, tell me one show you know. Tell me how many musicians you know that have done chart buster kind of songs, not just sing some fake songs that don't even get played by anybody. Real stuff that talks about the environment and all this kind of sustainable development, renewable energy, and all that. We had to invest in my previous organization then, through the BBC Media Action then, invest in the Nollywood sector, invest in the entertainment industry in order to push a lot of these things. So all those kind of sectors need this kind of financing to be able to help us move this thing forward.
Let's talk about homegrown solutions now. Because you've identified some of these challenges, there's a need to also talk about the solutions to this problem. Now, let's talk about what the federal government or state governments can do to attract or facilitate investments in, green financing, homegrown solutions as far as the local government level, state level, and the federal level, so that's to improve the level of investment in green financing.
First thing, you need to show results. The first thing the government needs to do is to come out and tell us the result of that 10 point something billion in 2017 and the 15 point something billion in 2019. See, former President Buhari went to an international setting and told other developing countries to emulate Nigeria in terms of providing green bonds. When that was released, is there. You could check it, there are papers. But now, after that has been done, has anybody come out to tell us the effect, the results? How has it helped Nigeria to become better? How has it helped to increase our GDP? Dr. Idausa and Dr. Sam always talk about, on this show, these things, data, results, monitoring and evaluation. They always mention it every day. It's key. So if I give you money to do something, because that financing probably would have come from maybe international bodies, you have the GF, Global Environmental Fund, you have the World Bank Fund, you have funds that come out from the COP meetings and all that. If that come from any of those, the IMF or anywhere, it could have come from those sectors. So have you been able to show us how it was used? Is it that somebody took a contract and pocketed the money? We've not seen the results. So that's the first thing the government needs to do. Now, in terms of commercial banks, we said only one bank is doing that. They are there to make money. If I pump in this money, how will I get it back? How would it improve my rating as a bank? That people will look at me and say, hey, this is a bank we want to be part of. Now, we talk about private investment. Dangote has set up a refinery in Lagos. Now, he was giving some certain things, concessions and all that. Now, if certain environment was not created for him to operate, he wouldn't put that in. You see the kind of huge investment. He wouldn't come in to put that kind of investment. So those are some of the things that government needs to do. Any bottleneck anywhere, you remove it. But the most important thing, the one you have already done, which is the most ambitious in the world, the first in Africa, show us results. We've seen some other countries that have been able to show the world. We don't even have any documentary to show what Nigeria has been able to do in terms of renewable energy. But I've watched for other African countries, even small Rwanda here. We've seen it. We've seen things in South Africa where you can generate power and now sell your power to your neighbors or by sending it back into the grid, and they give you a rebate. and they pay you for it, and they sell it to someone else. And that has been in existence in South Africa for well over a decade or more. And if you go there and check the people who helped to do these things, it's Nigerian. So those are the things the government need to do. Show us show us the results, and then money will come in. For instance, now that this light rail has started, and we begin to see how it's helping the people to get to work faster, cheaper, and all that, you will see loads more of investments will come in, but the government needs to lead. There's always what they call your local, if any international organization is giving you certain amount, they expect you to do your own local funding. Sometimes it's not about providing the money, but it's about providing the environment, providing land, providing the structure, providing tax rebate, providing this and that. Now, those things are now quantified into money, and they'll now say, okay, the government is providing so amount of billions to this project. But it's not that they provided that money physically. And I say we have all the resources to provide. We don't have the physical cash, but Nigeria has everything to provide in you. The other time we talked about exchange, green exchange. They are bringing in the funds. We are providing something else for them. Okay?
All right, let's look at risk. Are there risks associated with sustainable investment? And if there are, how can Nigerian insurance companies develop green insurance products to protect businesses and individuals?
Well, the insurance person will come and talk about that, but we know there are risks in everything in Nigeria. There are risks. There's nothing you do in this country that you can say, oh, if I throw my money here, I will get it back. There is nothing. Just a matter of, say, local goods, transporting goods from one location to another. Flooding happened in Lagos recently. What happened? Do you know the billions that would have been lost in the process? Moving to things, what happened in the Lokoja aspect? Have the losses been paid for, paid back? No. So there are risks there everywhere in Nigeria, and I don't know of any government policy that helps anybody solve risks. Take the media environment, for instance. You have to pay license fee of over 20 million. You have other sets of multiple taxation that comes in, and you are still asked to provide public service to the nation. Who helps you in this other solve this other problem? How would you get your money back? So that's the thing. The biggest risk is if I pump in this money, how would it come back to me? There is no roadmap. There is no plan to tell me that, okay, when you do this, this is insured. If anything happens, you will get it. And insurance is not only the fact that you sign up to insurance in an insurance company. Those companies also are concerned about making money. But insurance is more of other things that go with it. Tax, for instance, is there. So all those other things. Okay, we talk about our roads, facilities that you would require to do certain things. You know, all those kind of they call it creating an enabling environment. I can't remember most of the factors that are around the enabling environment, but that is just it. That's the main insurance. So once the environment is good, it's enabling. As an individual, I will see prospects on my own, but now I can't. Currently in Nigeria, if I generate power, I can't sell it. You know, so
All right.
We've not gotten to that point where I can invest in a community, generate power, and take the money I want to use and sell the rest to the community around. So just creating the enabling environment, whatever it takes to make someone feel confident that, oh, something can work. That's why many times when a government changes, You see some foreign investments, they pull out immediately. Then that government, just like the present administration is doing, going around and meeting people and assuring people that, oh no, the investments are safe. And they'll ask them questions before they now start coming back. So we need that enabling environment. Security, which is one of the major things there. You know, that is the major thing. If there is no security, how can I invest? They now come and pack my equipment, and then what will I do? You know.